Okay, so now that we've got our Excel data copied, we're going to go ahead and click into the gray box here since we've got titles, and then paste it. And you can see if you did it right, you'll have the discrete data or the attribute data will have a text, date, D for date, T for text, and your variable data won't have any letter assigned after the cell. So that tells you you're doing it right. Okay, so the first step we're going to do is we're going to go to Graph, Scatterplot. We want to have regression. Hit OK. And then this is where we need to determine what variables go with what. So remember, the X are your independent and your Y is your dependent. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit X. And I'm going to go ahead and measure back exposure. So once I hit that, click on that, I click onto the back exposure and hit select. It'll populate that back exposure into that cell. Go ahead and click the Y variable. And I'll just go ahead and select the first one to be the upper left relief. If I just go over to scales, we're going to go ahead and keep those the way those are. We're going to go ahead and hit the title. So we're going to go ahead and name the title just like we did on the syllabus. So Rivera underscore Scatterplots GRC320, and just say I'm in lab 02 underscore fall 20. So that is our header. And if you did that header there, you would not have to do the header in the Word document. And then here I'm just going to put down what I'm measuring. So I'm going to measure back exposure to, because I'm comparing it, to upper left relief. And hit OK. In the data view, we're good on there. We don't have to worry about these. We'll hit OK. And then we have our scatter plot. Oh, I made a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the under. This little arrow here is where we're going to go to a lot. I'm going to edit. Click on that. And then I can go ahead and make an edit. Okay. So now that we have that, we got to find our Pearson correlation. So what we'll do is we're going to go over to Stat, Basic Stat, Correlation. Click on that. And then we're going to just click and select the two variables that we're measuring at one time. Now we have to go in here, we have to kind of clean this up a little bit on the correlation. So we want to make sure method is Pearson correlation. We want to make sure that's highlighted. We want to make sure our confidence interval is 95. And leave this unchecked. Hit OK. And then on the graphs, we do not want to plot the correlation. So if you do that, it'll kind of mess up your graph. You'll have to go in there and hand clean it. So go ahead and get rid of that. And then on the results, keep method and correlation metrics, which is fine. Then we'll hit OK. And then you'll see your graph, it goes away. Don't worry, your graph is right here on the navigator. So what we want to do is we want to write this number down, 0.552. Go back to the scatter plot. Then I'm going to go ahead and go back to edit. Then I'm going to go ahead and insert the PCC value between the two headers. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the bottom, left click, add, title, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that value in. Hit OK. So now we're ready to go on to the next step. You're going to do this for two other graphs. We're going to go ahead and send graph to Word. If you want to go to InDesign, you can go ahead and hit copy graph and then put it on InDesign. But I like to just go ahead and send it right to Word. And when I open up my Word document, you'll see that I have the graph here. A couple of things we want to do now is we want to transverse the Y trend line. So we want to make a line and just go from the one Y to the other. Do the best you can to get it on there. And I like to make the red. Make it the same size. So what this is telling you from the start, from where the trend line is, where we started at around 1.83, and then we ended up around 0.20 in this data set. So it just tells you, what that tells you, why you're going from one Y to the second Y axis. And then what I'm going to do now is we're going to start doing a prediction. There's a couple ways you could do it. You could do a box, you could do a line. I like to just do the line. You can see we don't have any data between around 6.5 and around 100. So what do we want to know? We wanted to guess, my bad. If we wanted to determine at 0.554, which is around 55%, right? 55% probability that if we burned anywhere from 6.5 to 100, even though we don't have data set, we would expect, 55% probability that this relief would occur. So we don't have any data in 90, so I'm going to go ahead and let me just do 80. Let's see, if I was going to burn at 80, what would I expect? So if I hit Shift key down, I'm making the line, makes a straight line, and it goes right to the intersects the Y, the trend line on the Y axis. I'm going to go ahead and make that black, since it is a probability line. And then I'm going to go ahead and make another line here. Shift down again. That black. Good. So what this is telling us is that at a 0.554, 55%, if we burned at 80, we're, since this is a strong correlation, we have a strong idea, we have a strong concept or probability that we're going to have a relief of over 1.9 if we burned at 80. And you wouldn't necessarily have that without the scatter plot. Obviously, the higher the PCC number, the greater the probability, the greater the correlation. So what we're really looking for, you can't really say there's a cause and effect. There's a strong cause and effect on back exposure to relief, but it is a coin toss. So there is some correlation there, but it's strong, but it's not necessarily very strong. But we can safely say that if we burned at 80, we would get a correlation of 0.19. Could be less, could be lower, 50% chance, either way. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that. That's the probability. And then from there, you want to add your graph should look something similar like this. Anything that does not look like this will be in nonconformance, will be marked down. So you want to insert your document, your text box here, so you can start writing your answers. So for every graph, you want to tell me what is the independent variables, what are the positive or negative, is it a positive or negative slope? Indicate what the PCC value is. Is it very strong, weak, or no correlation? And what does that mean in interpreting your chart? So, we have a strong correlation here at 55%. So if we burned at 80, we would get 0.19. So it's a fairly strong correlation, and we can base our conclusions on therefore. And then you're going to compare and analyze the chart with the other charts. So you can see here the scatter plot is really good to determine the relationship between two variables as far as correlation. In reality, there's very little cause and effect, true cause and effect. There's really just levels of correlation. And so that's what we're measuring here. That is it. And good luck, and I look forward to seeing your responses.